Want to plan your next fishing trip without the hassle? FishingBooker.com is the best way to find and book a fishing charter anywhere in the world. Whether you're chasing trophy fish or just looking for a family day on the water, Fishing Booker makes it simple, fast, and secure. With thousands of experienced guides, verified reviews, and 24/7 customer support, Fishing Booker takes the guesswork out of planning. Visit FishingBooker.com and book your trip today. Fishing Booker. Fishing trips made easy.
This episode is brought to you by FX's Alien Earth, the official podcast. Each week, host Adam Rogers is joined by guests, including the show's creator, cast, and crew, in this exclusive companion podcast. They will explore story elements, deep dive into character motivations, and offer an episode-by-episode behind-the-scenes breakdown of each terrifying chapter in this new series. Search FX's Alien Earth wherever you listen to podcasts.
Everyone, thanks for listening to the Western Hunting Hub podcast. My name is Clint, and today we're joined by Jim from Gunwerks and the product manager over there in Cody, Wyoming. I've got a few questions and some things to direct us down custom rifles and that sort of thing. So, Jim, thanks for jumping on a call with me 10 o'clock on a Wednesday morning. Thanks for jumping on. If you wouldn't mind,
being here.
Introduce yourself real quick. Name, position, kind of what you do, and then I can ask another intro question.
Yeah, so I'm Jim Salbier, and my last name's a little intimidating, so Clint didn't give it a shot, and I don't blame him. I get it, all of the pronunciations, but so I'm Jim Salbier, and I've been at Gunwerks now for a year and a half, and am responsible for the product management of all Gunwerks products. So it's been quite a ride, and in terms of our rifle systems and all the things that we do, quite excited at what this company is able to do.
What's your background? Are you a little more hunting side, shooting side, a little bit of both? Where'd you come from a year and a half ago and before?
So background wise, I started, so I've always hunted, and since I was in my teens, I have always hunted, archery, rifle, muzzleloader, all of the weapons, back east. I grew up in Maryland.
Wyoming there, you got crossbows during that, so we'll just separate that one completely.
Yeah. Actually, I haven't done much with crossbows. I'll leave that to others at the moment. But when I was in that young part of my life, I just grew this affinity for shooting, right? And I started just chasing, shooting, and reloading, and just precision, trying to down this rabbit hole of how well can I make a rifle shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And I started with pretty basic rifles, quickly escalated into bench rest. So I shot competitive bench rest again for a number of years. So I did that for a number of years, had a really good time, learned a lot about reloading and the precision side of the house. Tremendously precise rifles, short range bench rest. So it's a little different than what we're talking about here, but precision. As I moved into kind of those disciplines, I shot other disciplines: 3-gun, handgun, shotgun. So I've kind of experimented at all of them across this period of time. Before coming to Gunwerks, I worked for Sitka Gear. So I spent almost 10 years as a product manager with Sitka Gear. Over there, I was doing the waterfowl collection, so I was hence the shotgun shooting, and got to learn a lot about soft goods.
Yeah,
had an opportunity to come over here with my passion around firearms. This was certainly a good fit, and have been here ever since.
Yeah. What in your teens, what was your first gun? Since we're talking rifles, let's go with
Yeah,
rifles.
I think the gun that kind of started it for me, I had a Remington 700 Classic, and it was in the 90s, and I don't remember which year. Each year they had a Classic, right? And it was one caliber, and this one happened to be a 17 Remington,
Hmm.
and it started me down this path of small calibers and wildcatting. And but that 17 Remington was, I think, pivotal in my, like, that was when I started chasing and trying to make this thing shoot, right?
Yeah.
And then yeah, I did 20s and lots of 17 cals, 20 cals, like, so the little stuff.
Yeah. Huh. What's your
And then when I
oh,
started shooting bench rest, it was 6 PPC and then 30 BR.
oh, okay. Yeah. I was gonna ask that, and then what's your nostalgia gun? Nostalgic one that you just to you is one of those iconic. I love this gun.
Oh gosh, I love. It's so hard to say exactly because I love all of the firearms, the old bolt actions. I've got a really old Ruger 77 and 270, right? That it shoots great, and it's just one that I have, right? I can't not have it. And then that same gun, that Remington, that I got tired of the factory Remington barrel. They were just rough as a cob and fouled, all the things. So I rebarreled that, and I still have that gun, right? And it's now a 17 Javelina, which is a Wildcat. So,
Yeah.
um, but a tremendous cartridge for coyotes and prairie dogs and all the little things.
Hmm.
So I still have those Cooper firearms, right, from back in the day when they were making incredibly well crafted firearms with beautiful wood stocks. I still have a thing for wood stocks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just ask because we've got many gun manufacturers like and custom rifle makers like you guys' business that are creating and doing some innovative things and making so much that's out there. But we all look back to our 30-06s and 270s and 260s and things like that we still gravitate towards and pick up for fun hunts every once in a while. So
yeah,
I am dabbling in the custom gun world now myself, and I was excited to see Gracie, the marketing person there, to reach out because I just finished and I've put in one box of ammo through a custom gun I built that was just pieces of this, putting it
yeah,
together, and I I'm going off of friend recommendations, and then
yeah, sure.
when you're spending a lot more than your $700 basic gun
Yeah,
off the shelf. So I
yeah,
got some questions around that, but that was the direct reason for the question. The
yeah,
Let's talk Gunworks. So Gunworks,
yeah,
give me
sure.
some company info on them. And if you're typing that in, it's WERKS. But Gunworks, just a very simple website to flip through, and I've been looking at that, just seeing the gun systems there that you guys built. But what are you guys about? What do you
Yeah.
make in-house? What do you bring in? Those sorts of things.
Great questions. And Gunworks with an E has has been in business now for close to 20 years. Um, we are in Cody, Wyoming. We were founded in Wyoming. We've been in the current building now for roughly 4 years, and our capabilities here and our goals as a company are to be able to control our own destiny in all things that our firearms touch, right? So we make barrels, we make our own ammunition. We actually, so we make our own barrels in terms of all the way through the process, from blanks to rifled, to every barrel gets hand lapped, and control everything that we can through the process to maintain a consistency that one rifle is able to shoot our ammunition as well as the next. And that level of control produces a firearm that will produce day in and day out for our ammunition and the consumer at long ranges. Our tagline is 1,000 yards out of the box, and I'll talk a little bit about how we get there. But realistically, the goals are we want to have control over all the components that go in. We lay up all of our carbon fiber stocks in house, like we do it all, which is pretty incredible. And I encourage anyone that comes through Cody, Wyoming, to stop in and get a tour.
Really? Okay. Do
Very impressive.
is there parts yet that you guys are using other company like triggers or anything that you're using?
Yeah, so we do use Trigger Tech triggers for some of our rifles. We've just, as of yesterday, announced the release of a new firearm on a chassis platform called the Index, and that utilizes our first Gunwerks trigger. So as of yesterday,
Recent.
we have launched. Yeah, so, but for the most part, so we do use vendors for certain things, but where we can, we've continued to integrate.
All of the whole process to do what
Yeah,
you want to do. I get it.
yeah,
Yeah, I put a trigger tech in mine. That was the
yeah,
one thing I added in there, and
yeah.
it's got pieces from all over the country that were put together,
Sure.
and who knows if I Frankenstein something correctly, but uh, a good barrel, a good stock, a good
Yeah,
all very good reputable companies pieced together, and really my reason for it was I was on a budget, and it's like I wanted to build a good gun. I'm not capable of buying a custom rifle. There's no question that these things are expensive, but
yes,
I imagine you're getting what you're paying for, and it'll come out of the box ready. My gun is not out of the box ready.
right.
I've
And
got
you know
the
that that's definitely a distinction. I think that there are a lot of individuals like yourself who take joy in the process of assembling and building something that they want based on all of the parts. And where we specialize is trying to take the mystery out for folks that don't have time or interest in that process, right? So in terms of the 1,000 yards out of the box, and the reason that we got there is because there are a lot of folks that have the desire to hunt, and their desire to hunt and have the tools necessary to equip them effectively to perform. Out west here, as you're well aware, we have lots of open spaces and lots of long range hunting opportunities. Our specialty and our focus is the capability to be effective at those distances. And we don't just give away sell a rifle. We actually have classes. We've got our own training staff. We conduct our long range university almost year round. Whether it's here in Burlington at our own facility or at other locations around the country. So we're constantly teaching uh, how to be effective with our rifle systems and shooting at distance. So,
So this next piece I'd like to really expand a lot on. So it's a very loaded question. Could be the entirety of our podcast, but um,
sure.
if you're able to break down the pieces of let's pick one, maybe the new one you got, but I'm sure it's some similar things across the you said the Index is a new one.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
Got the Index here, the Nexus and Magnus, and I mean you've got some very similar features across the
Sure.
board. It's not like picking up a totally different one in a store, but um,
Hmm.
taking one of those and breaking it down into their barrel, the chassis, the trigger, the action, even the
Sure.
scope, and telling us some of the qualities and differences that that has versus a pretty good one off the shelf. If I walk into Shields and go buy a $1,200 gun, let's say,
Hmm.
a pretty good one, but not, it's not, we're not talking about a $200 Savage. We're talking about a,
Sure.
a great gun anybody would be happy with. That's
Yeah.
probably is that line that separates high-end guns to custom barrel, so or custom gun. So that's what I'd like to see is just what makes these things different.
Yeah. And that is the place I think most people start, right? They'll go into a gun shop or a Shields or Cabela's or name your local sporting goods store where there's a rack of rifles, and they pick a rifle that has the caliber they want, and it may they might buy a scope over here and have them mount it and bore sight it, kind of scenario, whatever that looks like. The primary difference and the the thing I think that distinguishes Gunworks from everyone else is those production style guns that somebody can set up are just the limitations placed in terms of their process, right? And even selecting, you may get a gun that shoots well, right? So precision is one aspect. It's all of the pieces. Let's say I get this gun and I put this scope on it, and this ammo box here looks cool. I'm going to try this ammo. It's got XYZ bullet at whatever grains, and we're going to slide these things together, and then we're going to hope that it shoots with some precision, and then we're going to have to figure out how to shoot at distance with this combination, and what does it do at distance. What tools am I going to employ to allow me to be successful? So my ballistic app, and then all of those things. Where Gunworks will build that rifle, every single barrel that we make is hand lapped. Every single gun that we shoot is shot in our tunnel. They all have data collected that is stored and assigned to that serial number. That rifle has a profile, and that rifle, when it leaves, has been qualified through our process. It is zeroed. So if you buy a ballistic package and have our scope mounted, it's going to come zeroed. It's going to come with a laser etched turret that's calibrated for our ammo, right? For that rifle, in that rifle, that ammo, that velocity, everything is very tailored and specific. And in order for us to be successful, we have to control all the components that go in. That ammo component, the chamber dimensions are all built for the ammo and that specific bullet. So lead, jump, throat, everything's kind of specified. It all has to work together as a system. I liken it to when I came from the soft goods side, it was like you can't just have a good jacket. You need to have insulation base layer. You need to have a system, right? Sitka was really good at talking about systems. You can't have one component that drives the performance of the entire system without considering all the components together and the system as a whole. So that's kind of how we're doing things differently.
How how different could one Nexus be from the next? If you're building one, and I mean I've got a for what I do for work, we've got our Remington 700s, 243s for
Yeah,
shooting whitetail does at 100 to 200 yards, and they do great for what we're doing.
yeah,
They're still different guns.
sure.
Do you see differences in some of those in the
Every Yeah, because we're controlling all of the components very similarly, and the way we manufacture the parts and the barrels, and the ammunition, our ammunition tolerances are the reason that we have to make our ammunition is when you talk about long range performance and extreme spreads of your velocities, extreme spreads are so critical at distance that we're controlling our powder charge weights. Every single charge weight's measured, right? It's to that degree of control that we have to take to reach our internal standards and help customers understand and perform what they would hope to do. So the difference, I guess, getting back to the question, I wandered there a little bit. The difference from gun to gun is pretty close. It could be 20, 30, maybe up to 50 feet per second, from a one 20-inch barrel to the next 20-inch barrel with the same caliber and same everything, but reasonably close.
Yeah. So let's look at each of those parts. Like the barrel is one that I think is, I don't know if any one thing can contribute more or less to your precision, but seems like a lot of focus is put on some barrels. I looking at carbon fiber barrels.
Mhm.
You've got just the anatomy of it first, right? We've got a steel barrel liner with carbon fiber wrapped around that.
Correct.
Okay. So that has become, I don't know when these carbon fiber barrels have really took off,
Yeah.
but it's a relatively new thing. Um, how's that a benefit besides weight? What's the
Yeah.
benefit in these carbon fiber barrels, or what's the cons?
Yeah. I mean, I think there you could have a pretty lengthy discussion about pros and cons to the carbon fiber. I think, and I think that there's still opportunity for growth in this particular area. It is about weight, right? So the carbon fiber it allows you to have a bigger barrel external profile. Basically, you take a barrel blank and you contour it such that the the metal will have a relief area where carbon fiber will get built up to take up that void. And so a barrel that measures 850 at the muzzle, um, with carbon wrap, would be comparable to a much slimmer profile all steel barrel. Now, what does that get for me? Um, in terms of performance wise, stiffness, all the things. The carbon fiber is very durable, right? The way it is wrapped as well as impregnated and affixed to the steel. It's very durable. We rarely see anybody without some kind of really nasty, tragic accident have any issues with that carbon fiber, damage. It So by having a thicker barrel, it also allows it's much easier to employ a suppressor or muzzle brake. It just gives us consistency at distance at barrel length. So now I have a much better shoulder to profile off of for my suppressors and things like that. Shooting wise, it's not going to shoot better than a steel barrel. So, in terms of like why would I do it? It's really around weight and that diameter, that makes it easier for me to employ those other suppressors, things like that.
Is there any discussion around longevity of a barrel that's carbon fiber?
Yeah,
I mean, this is ignorant me talking
sure.
about
No, that's okay.
what I
I don't
heard
know that.
from buddies.
Yeah, I don't know that there's been any evidence of deterioration of the barrel, either shooting or basically barrel wear happens from erosion from the gases of your cartridge going down the bore. And where you see that erosion is in the throat area, in the forward, or, in the chamber side of a barrel. That's where you're going to see that erosion first, and the deterioration occur. The reason that it might happen in, either steel or carbon wrap barrel early on would be abuse, right? So high volume shooting and heat, right? So if I'm hammering it without letting it cool at all, or high volume strains, things like that, that would certainly accelerate that wear. But for a hunting rifle and for the kinds of things that we're doing, we don't have any accelerated wear. We don't have anything that would show that there's any problem with that.
If you were trying to get a good shooting gun and you're fine tuning some things, what is your typical shots to cool down process? I mean, this is a little off topic, but not really.
Yeah.
How much are you letting that thing cool down? Because I keep that in mind and I think about it, and like I have no idea if my barrel is now a noodle
It's too
shooting
hot.
or
Yeah.
if my new gun is just that light varmint, so it's a little heavier, and I notice how much cooler that is versus the pencil barrel gun
Yeah.
over the range times of shooting it. But I mean, I know that barrel can get hot, and you feel it like that's hot, but
Yeah.
no idea what I'm doing as far as maybe I should just shoot 5 rounds and then give it 10 minutes. And obviously, that's a temperature thing. I mean, temperature is,
Yeah.
but on a 60-degree day when you just got just a beautiful day of shooting, what are you doing to maintain that accuracy?
Yeah. So what I'll kind of go into what we do here is we will shoot a group. So during this whole validation process, the gun will shoot a group. They'll clean it, and then they'll shoot a group to start their testing. When they shoot those groups, they have barrel coolers in between, like a barrel cooler. We have a rack. So our shooting tunnel has 3 shooting lanes, 100 yards in our building here, where we have an AILER 85 system, ballistic lab. All the data gets collected. Every single shot gets recorded, and they have a laptop computer screen at each bay. And as I'm shooting, I see my group forming downrange, right? I can see it in my scope, but it shows on a big screen, here's what the group looks like. And it even measures and gives you the size. It's pretty awesome to be able to have that. And then they'll shoot that 5-shot group, and then they'll put it in a rack, and it bolt open, air gets flown, and it cools, so that we're not, shooting consecutive groups, trying to hammer groups through it. Similarly, at the range, if I'm shooting for precision, where I'm measuring groups and trying to evaluate the performance of a rifle, I would shoot a 5-shot group, and then I'm going to give it some rest period, right?
Yeah.
Just as a matter. Now, if I shot a 20-shot string, like when I used to shoot bench rest, I had a much heavier steel barrel, right? So it's a pretty significant barrel that would take a lot more to heat up. Different scenario, but I needed to be able to shoot 20 shots maybe in my 10 minutes, like depending on how things are going. That gun would tolerate it a lot better because of the mass. So hunting rifles are going to act differently than a heavier barrel type application, and their performance would be affected less than a lighter weight gun. Now, the heat, what you would typically expect to see as a barrel heats up is it starts to wander, right? You'll see your group may open up, your point of impact may shift. There's a lot of things that could happen as you get more and more heat into that barrel. But realistically, you would hope that in most scenarios that it's not shotgunning, it's just drifting.
Yeah.
And it has to get pretty hot. Like, so you were talking about your carbon fiber, and it feels cooler, yet it's the carbon fiber is definitely it feels cooler to the touch, right?
Sure, sure.
Like I can grab a hold of it and it doesn't feel as hot. That doesn't mean it's not being affected the same, because the heat is still in the metal.
Yeah. Yeah.
New season, new chaos in college football.
Let's go! Big stage, big opportunity.
This Labor Day weekend, the wildness lives on ABC, ESPN, and the all-new ESPN app.
What a way to start!
Featuring top 10 teams like Clemson, Notre Dame, Alabama, and LSU, and Bill Belichick's debut at North Carolina.
It's so special when these teams collide.
Don't miss a lineup filled with electric matchups.
Welcome back to college football.
Kickoff week presented by Modelo. Labor Day weekend on ESPN and ABC. Also available to stream on the all-new ESPN app.
There's nothing like when you get that part from eBay and it just fits. Yeah, the first time. So you can do less of this and get right back to more of this. At eBay, you'll find all the parts you need, guaranteed to fit, at prices you'll love. Sounds good, doesn't it? eBay, things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Moving to the action of what you guys have there, I see they Remington 700 clones, or what? Talk about the action, what you guys have created.
Yeah, our Magnus and Climber, and some of our legacy products continue to utilize a GLR action, right? That's our action that is a clone, if you will. It's on a 700 footprint, built to our specifications, but it is a 700 footprint two-lug action. So that would fall into that class. And then we have a Nexus that and now our new Index utilize our aluminum body receiver with a full diameter bolt and interchangeable barrel system. That NXT action, now NX2 with the Index launch, is a much different profile and very much specific to us and proprietary. Like, it's not a clone of anything, it's just ours. And so those are the two classes of receivers that we use here.
Got it.
And our aluminum receiver uses a full diameter bolt, and because it's an aluminum receiver, we have a barrel basically on the chamber side of the barrel. The interface for the lugs of the bolt are now engaged into the barrel, and that barrel threaded tenon will go into the receiver, and it is clamped in the receiver. So it's just a little different in terms of how, and that allows us to have a very light aluminum receiver, and we still have all the benefits. There's no downside. The advantages are you can switch a barrel. I can switch calibers. I can put a new barrel on for whatever reason, whether it's wear or just I want a different length, configuration. It just makes it super flexible and modular for somebody like yourself. Like, I wanted to try something new.
Yeah. And back to our main separation of this versus our $1,200 gun. What are these actions giving you just in terms of pros that $1,200 gun does not have, to keep it super simple?
Yeah. Mostly just tolerance and precision, right? If all of the pieces have to work together, your lug contact, your fire control system, there are so many things that are affected by these components, and by testing a gun. So every gun that gets validated, there will be some that have something going on, and we have to go down a checklist to find out what is not performing. And it could be something as simple as certainly something could be loose, but you could have firing pin contact. You could have some, anomalies in the lug surfaces. But we do everything we can to minimize that, because the last place you want to find it is validation. But by testing them, we're able to say, okay, something is wrong here, and we're able to find, what that might be. So in terms of actions, barrels, stocks, right? The interface between the barreled action and the stock is a bedding block. So a mini chassis, if you will, that is embedded into our carbon fiber stock. That versus pillars or no pillars allows us to have a very consistent bedding surface and contact, right? That contact and by the way we inlet that bedding block into the stock and affix it so that the receiver doesn't actually touch the carbon fiber, the barrel doesn't touch the barrel channel, it is limited to contact in the bedding block. On top of that, we use a recoil lug wedge. So this wedge system is in the bedding block, and it clamps and applies force on the recoil lug. So on the front of your action, you've got that recoil lug. We clamp that. Once we establish that it's in the bedding block and we clamp that recoil lug, you don't get that shift of point of impact. It is going to be consistent. That recoil lug, the wedge, and that bedding block or mini chassis that's in our stock is just rock solid, right? Whereas if I didn't have that wedge and I'll have either pillars or even a bedding block, that gun can have a minute adjustment upon recoil in the bedding surface. So we're able to lock that down, and now it's basically one system that's connected, and not aren't these competing forces on that barreled action when upon that recoil moment.
And
we're pretty deep.
I apologize for the elementary question, but this is
it's okay
for guys like me who are, again, just hunters.
Yeah.
That, you buy a tool and you use the tool and don't really understand the tool.
Yeah.
When we buy those guns off the shelf, it doesn't matter if we took that stock or we put another one on there that's a different one at home. There's just that little bit of wiggle in movement in that stock. Mine, of course, it's torqued down, but there's that little bit of movement. If you had the same gun, the exact same gun, I don't care if it's yours or off the shelf.
Yeah.
If you had the same gun and one was a bedded stock, and then you took that gun and took it and put it on a non-bedded stock, what kind of variance can you see in a group at 100 yards, would you say? Like, that's the last step I have to do for my gun is bed it. And I'm really curious to know. I hear and I'm told, yes, it'll be more accurate because you got less movement, but
yeah,
how much?
Yeah. So by bedding or adding bedding compound, what you're trying to accomplish the same thing, right? You're trying to have that mating surface that fits the receiver and minimizes any shifting, right? That's how that's how
done. You guys have.
Yeah, that's right. That's the old school method. Is I'm going to apply bedding to try and accomplish this task, and then people did the same thing with pillars. It's all trying to accomplish this task of reducing any adjustment. Now, the question around what can I expect for one gun versus another in terms of this performance in this bedding shift is, if you think about the forces and the abuse that a rifle gets in a hunting scenario, where it gets jostled, it's riding in the back of my truck, it's on a horse, it's all the things, right? It might fall down, it might be leaning against a tree and flop over. It's on my pack, right? Whatever it is, hits a tree. Those forces could adjust that position in that bedding area if it's not just great, right? If you have some deficiency in your bedding, right, then that point of impact on that first shot, the one that matters, could be adrift. Okay, could be. So say it's a drift. I'm going to use some reasonably aggressive numbers. Let's say it's shifted 2 inches at 100 yards. So now I got 2 inches at 100. I've got 20 inches at 1,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
You start to miss things pretty readily at that point when you have that kind of anomaly. And that's built in just to, the doesn't take into account any of the other variables.
Right.
So it's a pretty big opportunity to reduce that point of impact shift with good bedding.
Yeah. So that makes a lot of sense. I'm interested to see what that does, because I would not say. I mean, I said I've got a lot of work to do on my gun, and I'm being a little selfish I know I'm interviewing Gunwerks, and we're talking about your products.
Sure.
I'm a little selfish and wanting to learn.
Yeah, of course.
Something about mine, but I think
Absolutely,
you're selling your Gunwerks company in the process of answering the question. So, yep. Then I lost my train of thought. So I'll move on to my next one on the optics of that. Is that your guys's the Revit optics? Is that something you guys are making in house there? Obviously, I'm sure parts are coming from wherever.
Yeah.
You're not molding glass or whatever.
Yeah.
But tell us about the optics piece of that.
Yeah, the optics side. So, my role, actually, we use other company optics on our guns as well. So if a customer calls in and they want a Collis scope or a Leupold scope, we can accommodate those. Swarovski, depends on the rifle. I've got options for other optics, third party optics. Our Revit brand is our own optics brand, where we're able to do the things that we want to do for those scopes, those choices. We do test and do all the assembly. We do lots of assembly here, but we're sourcing components from where we need, and scopes. That's certainly not my area of expertise in terms of the Revit brand. But to answer your question, our Revit scope, our Revit optics perform very well in terms of our rifle systems. The thing that we're able to control, similar to the rest of our components, is we can test all of their scopes. Every scope gets validated before inspected through our process, through the same kind of rigors that we do for our rifles. So click value, impact, collimator, all the things that matter are evaluated for our scopes. And the repeatability and performance of our scopes is great. I greatly appreciate tracking and performance that, if I throw in, my 22 minutes, my 1,000 yards, I can feel confident that 22 minutes is actually 22 minutes of click value. And then when I go back to 0, I can feel confident I'm going to impact at 100. So, yeah, but that aside, when we partner with Collis and get Collis scopes in, we still burn deterrents for those. So after it goes through validation, that gun is calibrated and the turret is burned very specifically for that scope, as well as our Leupold Mark Vs. Those are two great optics choices as well.
So if I were to get transferred over to sales right now and say I'm interested in a gun, what's
Mhm.
the process of working with a customer?
Yep. So we have client advisors that will run somebody through a process of, what is it that they need, and we're able to build lots of different guns. You saw the list, and you see kind of what are the applications. What they will run down is, what is this use scenario that you're most likely to use. It may be for a specific hunt. If it's for a specific hunt, that's pretty straightforward. We can put somebody in the best rifle for that specific hunting scenario. We can recommend the right caliber. We can set them up. If it's more generic, like I just want a big game rifle that's capable of going out west someday, then we can talk through. Here's a very, this is a um, more versatile tool versus something very, very, very specific, but would be very good at this, right? We'll give you the opportunity to do this, but yet perform very well, in your whitetail, scenario versus your elk. So it's just going to come down to, the reason that we have all these choices is because there's just so many applications that somebody might need. I might be going to Africa, but most of the time I'm hunting elk, like,
Yeah.
okay.
Two
So there's
different
always concessions to be made, for the person that may want to use this gun across a wider variety, um, versus some people are dead set on, I want a big 30 cal to shoot my deer. Okay, we can do that.
Yeah.
But
And then after they've picked that out, is it we build it?
so they get,
Well,
yeah, they get options, barrel length, finish colors, stock coatings. We've got a Cerakote um, application process here. Pretty pretty extensive options in terms of how that gun can be finished. Um, and then of course you got to pick the scope and decide, how which scope you want, magnification range, um, cases. You may want a travel case with rollers. You may want your slimline case. You may not want any case. Then just get it to, can be delivered in a box, versus the hard cases. So it really is a process where they will, drive you down there. It could be accessories, our suppressors we can add on, bipods, all of these things could complete that system.
and then I buy so many boxes. I mean, you're the source
Yeah,
for that box of ammo for
correct.
that round. And then I'm assuming weekly or every day you guys got calling in saying I need another case.
Yep.
I need another.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming is that like you said that each gun has a profile. So then it's just you pull up that customer, I see this gun, you need
Yes.
another 5 boxes of whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And the ammunition control is um, extensive, right? So I know what your gun is shooting. I know the bullet that it shoots. I know the load. I can even see when that ammunition was loaded for your lat. I can see by lot control. But what we control in the interim is, I say across 2 years from now, you need more ammo. It needs to perform the same as that ammo,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so um, we every time we get a new lot of bullets, a new lot of powder, a new lot of primers, every single time we make a changeover, they test for velocity and consistency in our ammunition department tests in the tunnel their loads before they turn it loose.
Yeah.
Right. So even the ammunition control is to that level where we have to make sure we're controlling velocity and precision in the things, when you change over some component.
And you guys are obviously validating that gun to say, okay, you're shooting 129 grain. And then someone says, "Man, I'd like an extra little bit of weight." So they're like, "What do you think the 140s would do in it?" Like after they've had that gun for 5 years or so, is that a common thing you're getting where people wanting to mess with a load?
Um, yeah, so typically we try and minimize the options for because first off it's really difficult to manage all of the SKUs we have on the ammo side. So if it's and because our focus is really long range hunting, we usually try and pick one bullet weight per cartridge, right? So you'll have one option, or there will be a second option that you could add to your gun that says, I need a lead free, precision lead free load, where I'm not allowed to shoot lead, wherever that is. I can get a copper solid option for my gun and add that on. What we offer there is you can shoot that, you can get that load later on and shoot it, get a velocity, and we can burn a new turret for your scope. We can bring the gun back. A lot of our customers, they don't want to deal with any of it. They're like, I want this, and they'll send it back, and we'll get them a new turret, validate it, send it back. So there's lots of options on how to manage that. Our customer service department would facilitate those things, but it's as simple as you could get that ammo and shoot it in your gun, get a new turret just for that. And our Revic scopes, any of our scopes, we can drop a new turret on, but the Revic scope's pretty simple because it's just a data ring, a ballistic data ring.
Sure. Just curious, as much as I changed Broadhead's arrow setup to figure there's got to be a few guys out there say, well, I wonder if it'd shoot 140s. I wonder if it would shoot,
Yeah.
get another
Well,
whatever.
I mean, there's also people that will buy our rifle, and they will buy it with no scope, right? The magic of what we are able to provide in the shooting system is really the strongest value proposition in terms of, like, I'm not a tinkerer,
Yeah.
right? I want to feel confident in all those things. For the person that wants to mess around with things, we have customers that hand load and do their own thing. They'll buy a gun and they'll put their own scope on it and do all the work.
Mm-hmm. So in a year that I didn't draw a single rifle deer tag, I spent a lot of money on a custom rifle for myself, but I got plenty of archery and a different tag. I drew a muzzleloader tag in South Dakota, which can be used anywhere in the state, which is a darn near one of the best tags we got, because you can hunt anywhere, minus our state parks
Awesome.
and national forests, and it's a pretty sweet tag. Uh, I scrolled down to see 800-yard muzzleloader. 800-yard precision is what it said. But
Yeah.
what are you guys doing to make a 300 grain round
Yeah.
to be able to do what that does? Tell me
Yeah.
about that muzzleloader.
Yeah. The muzzleloaders and the technology with muzzleloaders has gotten really good, right? You have blackhorn powder, which is allowed in terms of the black powder substitute out west here. That is the go-to powder choice. You have all of the same components that we use to create the barrel, the ignition, our ignition system and performance, that it is quite remarkable how well you can get a muzzleloader to shoot. And I encourage people to go and check out some of the videos from some of the early days of our muzzleloader testing. I think there's one video where Mike Davidson was shooting. I think he shot an antelope at 750 yards. In either way, it was in that range, and it was really far. And you see that performance. we have a group of guys that are headed to New Mexico tomorrow for an antelope hunt with muzzleloaders, and so there's a lot of passion out west for some of these very special tags with muzzleloaders, and the ability to stretch your range to 400 or 500 yards, which is, you think about that as unbelievable, much less further. with a little, certainly practice and understanding the ballistics of it.
Yeah.
But those bullets are pretty impressive. We recently did a 450 Bushmaster, and the ballistics of that are not a lot different than a muzzleloader, and very, very impressive performance. And we shot that gun out to 900 yards, and it was pretty impressive. You really have to be in tune with your velocity, your ballistics, truing BCs, understanding what it's going to do at distance. My drops are one thing. My wind calls are essential, right? The BC on these bullets are much different than, let's say, a 210 grain burger coming out of a 30 cal. So our ballistic app, Revic Ops, is my ballistic solution provider that I can do all the things I need to help understand what that bullet's going to do at distance, and then couple that with our laser range finding products. It's just stack the odds in your favor of understanding what that bullet's going to do.
Yeah. I gotta still buy a muzzleloader. I that is the one area I know jack squat about. I don't know anything about them. I've shot like 3 rounds in my life out of a muzzleloader.
Yeah.
And
that's what you needed, was a tag and the chance to explore.
Yeah. And I'm excited about learning something new, because I feel like I've dabbled in a little bit of everything, but muzzleloaders I don't know anything about, but it's the opportunity. I mean, it's not, for me, it's not the traditional, I'm going to go take an old Hawken out there and go do some muzzleloading. It's about the extra tag opportunity. And I got a full month in December to go. Hopefully we get a bunch of snow and go crawl around in the snow and sneak up on some old bucks somewhere and just have fun doing that. That's what
it is. Amazing. It's addictive though. Muzzleloading, it is really enjoyable. It's very important that people understand the process and have steps and at least some basic training and understanding of how it works. This is an area where people can get hurt, right? You're charging, you're adding powder. The scenario where somebody's hunting, they leave their gun loaded, and then they, in the heat of the moment, they forgot and double load it. There will be a catastrophic event when a gun like that is double loaded. Double charge, you're going to jar teeth loose, and it's not going to be a good experience for anybody. Likely not a catastrophic event. But the real caution here is have some training and discipline and a process, because people get excited. Mm-hmm. You're hunting, blood's pumping. You cannot afford to make a mistake here, and I've seen it. Right, it's not good. So that would be my caution to anybody that's going to dabble in muzzleloading is get, for one, you have a ramrod. Make sure your ramrod has a mark on it, exact mark, tape that won't come off, etch it, of where it's supposed to be. When I have a charge with a bullet, where's my mark? And I know every time, if I'm not on that mark, I have a problem.
Right. Good. Good tip. I said, I'm green on these, and it's I'm starting my education, and there will be future podcasts on this with muzzleloader companies to learn specifically, or powder companies, or bullet. I don't know, just somebody to teach somebody that is a big time muzzleloader to teach
Yeah.
that, because it's
I mean, it'll put a smile on your face. You shoot a muzzleloader and you shoot a group down there that you're like, wow. From a bullet, I'm jamming down the the muzzle. I'm just stuffing this bullet down on over some powder, and it's like it feels so primitive, and the performance can be so impressive.
well. I look forward to messing with that.
Yeah.
Um, Last question or two.
Sure.
Let's just say, okay, I've got my gun now out of the box, or put together out of the many
Yeah, sure.
boxes I bought. Um,
Yep.
I've put a box of rounds through it. I haven't done any reloading for it. I'm kind of just
Okay.
messing around with it with some factory loads to start with. Uh,
Sure.
I have to bet it yet to get that thing sucked in there. What else in the custom gun world is on that checklist of I need to do this yet, this yet, this yet? Is there a barrel break in? Is there? I mean, I obviously I need to do some load development, uh,
Yeah.
but I didn't want to do that right away if barrel break in needs to happen. Or what's
Right.
what's some steps?
Um, barrel break-in will vary from barrel to barrel. Even from a barrel coming out of the same process. The the idea of barrel break-in is you are copper, the copper jacket is stripping off and you're laying down copper in the bore, right?
Yeah.
You want to get that copper out. The copper is not good, so we want to get that copper out. Um, but we don't want to clean it. Like, you don't want a barrel that's clean completely. And when I say that, people are like, what do you mean? The 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 carbon, to some degree, that fills in the micro pores and things, like you will see a rifle, if it's stripped clean, it won't perform as well. And a lot of us, once we have our barrel broke in, we're not going to clean that gun at all during that entire season. Could be 60 rounds, whatever it is,
Hmm.
unless we see some kind of deterioration that would make us do so. Um, so, cleaning, I think there's a big issue potentially with people over cleaning, trying to get just completely clean versus getting that copper out. So use a copper solvent um, to minimize any kind of copper buildup. You don't want that. But the carbon itself, and how much, I don't want to scrub it. I don't want to use abrasives, things like that. That break-in a lot of times is really from the machining in the throat, in the chamber, right? Those edges are what is laying down that copper. The rest of the barrel's been polished, right? So it's really around breaking in that throat, if you will,
And and
as
how
well as filling those pores.
how do guys know that kind of has happened?
Yeah.
It's gun to gun, but
It is. You will know. A gun will settle in. Um, the tools, I think, that are really important are, gosh, a bore scope. I remember when bore scopes were pretty fancy and expensive, and now they're $100. It's kind of ridiculous that I can hook a bore scope up to my laptop and I can look.
Mhm.
Not that anybody really. Sometimes that can be scary, and see things. You're like, oh God, what about this? What about that? I don't think that's nearly as important as how is it shooting, right? It's are my are, during that early stage, a gun breaks in, if you will, the velocity increases,
'Cause
and I don't think
it's-
people understand that. Like, when I shoot that first shot versus shot number 50, that velocity will be different. And that is part of that break-in process, seasoning the barrel, if you will. The tools, a chrono is a great tool. So now I know, okay, my velocity, then, and again, if I have a speed up of 35 feet per second and on my average, I need to know that. So once that barrel's kind of seasoned, if you will, it will stabilize at a point, and then it's going to be pretty consistent over the next period of time until it starts to really wear out.
Yeah. Well, I thought our gun range is going to be open, and I'm sure you've heard about our gun range that's coming. And if you haven't, you're going to.
Yeah,
We've got a world-class shooting facility that's
I heard. Yeah,
popping up, and I'm sure you'll be shooting at it at some point. But it's because I work for our agency, and so I will be working at that facility here and there.
good.
It's it is I've toured it, and it is something else. It is
That's
absolutely
great.
something else. The other gun range that we have is an hour south. It works, it's great, but it's an hour south, and the wind's always blowing. You can't
The
account.
wind blows over there in South Dakota.
Yeah,
Huh,
not like
weird.
what not like what you guys get, but you can't
Yeah,
account for like, oh, it's a calm day and you drive an hour south on the other side of the wind blows differently on various
yeah,
parts around the Black Hills. So it's tough to and line that with your schedule. So you've got that. It's a little ways away, but this facility is going to be amazing. Just to have
yeah,
even 1 to 300 yard ranges, bays, and then our 1,200 yard bay is going to be a lot of fun to mess around on.
yeah.
But it'll be a really, really unique facility. So I can't imagine someone hasn't talked to you about that.
No,
That
I have. I
facility.
have. Yes,
So
I have heard about that.
it's gonna be something good. So I have to wait though. Our new opening date for the public is October 31st or November 1st that weekend. So we'll have that not in a lot of time before many seasons.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll
No,
have
that's super exciting to have. I love to hear new ranges being built because I think that's, with all the pressures around firearms and in our industry, to have new ranges popping up and introducing people and giving opportunities for people to shoot at distances fantastic. Wyoming has a new shooting complex, also state shooting complex coming to Cody. Um, we won't see that before sometime in 2026 at the early stages.
yeah. The the guy running it is doing such a good job with some cool tech and I even got excited about I got a 7-year-old taking him to just the 22 bay to shoot all the little spinny metal guys
Nice.
and otherwise normally we just go out on some public land and you shoot a target and it's cool, but
Yeah.
I think the
Right.
little spinny metal things and anything to go ting or
Right.
he's got,
Interactive.
yeah, he's got even for the adults that are shooting longer range. I mean, just to have light up stuff to be able to see where you're shooting, uh,
Yeah.
all that cool tech is it's going to be kind of neat. And I told you I'm not a shooter, and that's exciting me. So,
Yeah. That's fantastic.
but it probably is just going to cost me some more money in ammo and things like that. But it all 10-11% of that goes back to Pittman Robertson, which we can. I'm sure you guys write a big fatty check for
Mm.
every
Yeah.
single year. But yeah, so that's happening, and I invite you to check that out. Any
Yeah.
past past November, that it's going to be a cool facility, and
Fantastic.
sign up for some of our competitions. I know we are already holding a competition in September there. Um,
Nice.
I can't even tell you what the acronyms are for these things because they're all
Sure.
like 8 letters long and 2 letters different. I don't know, but
Yeah.
it'll be a cool deal. So, Jim, I want to thank you for your time
Exciting
this
times.
morning and
Appreciate it.
giving me and my listeners an education on Gunworks and what you guys have to offer. Um, and yeah, custom rifles might be something to for folks to consider. If they're interested,
Love it.
where should they go? And or if what
Yeah.
content do you guys got out there that's
Yeah.
anything to watch, YouTube or what do you have?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think do a search on YouTube for Gunworks, our long range pursuit podcast, gunworks.com. Um, Lots of opportunity for education that we push out pretty readily, and we're excited to educate. for folks that really want to go a little extra deep, explore our long range university classes. They give opportunities. Even we have ELR, extreme long range classes, as well as our regular class. Our regular class goes out to 1,000 yards, and down at our school in Burlington, it's pretty fantastic. You would shoot school guns, and then you'd also have an opportunity to shoot your own gun at the last day of the class, depending on which class. Lots of levels, so it's lots of opportunities, and we try really hard to educate and help folks learn how to be effective.
Yeah, I first saw you guys' names through my buddy Greg McHale. I know he's a big
Oh yeah,
for you guys, and he's
yep. I got a gun. I'm probably going to be shipping off to him here shortly.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's obviously using that to its fullest with his extreme angle shots, long range,
Yeah.
extreme conditions kind of thing. So he's a
Yes, great to see people testing. Yeah. It's good.
So, thanks, Jim. I will let you get back
Yep.
to your day. And
awesome. Thank you, Clint.
Appreciate it.
To the land, but it ain't my ground. This is God's country.